Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Oh, hello pause menu. You can go away, thank you very much. We just finished up some tourism missions here, and what do we still have? Actually, what is currently available? I'm kind of not super into doing additional tourist missions over what we've already got. Actually, all these contracts I think I'm not interested in at this exact moment. We might be interested in doing some of these a little bit later on, but right now I think we want to do this one here, which is just an orbit around the moon, which should be super easy for us to do with our Crusader craft. So let's go ahead and pop that up. We'll open this in, and the Crusader Mark I rescue craft, which is also kind of a tourism craft. We will go ahead and have, Jeb can be the pilot. Actually, I'm going to have Gilly be the pilot here. Gilly has exactly the same experience as everyone else, but that's fine. We can bring Catley and Anhat, and actually, we don't need the crew cabin to make this happen. This is just a single one for each of these. Fascinating. And it's just a moon orbit, so it should be completely fine. Let's go ahead and modify this a little bit. I'm going to put the drogue chutes... Oh, we need to be in the build mode. There we go. I'm going to have the drogue chutes be about here. There we go. And we're going to pop the heat shield off, and we'll ditch the crew cabin. And we'll do something like this. We probably, with this height of rocket, don't need these struts. We are strutted in down here, I believe. Yes, we are. So this should not be an issue, I think. And rather than this being the Crusader Mark I rescue craft, I'm going to go ahead and... That's exciting. I'm going to go ahead and rename it to... Let's see here. How about the Timor? And this will be the Mark I tourism trap. Perfect. What could possibly go wrong with a name like this? Let's go ahead and launch it entirely without testing. I'm sure it'll be fine. I really should look at the aerodynamics, but I can't be bothered. This is going to go really well. This is going to go super well. Actually, it might. It might actually go super well. Whoa, that was quite a bounce to start with. Okay. Exciting. I can see here that we are pretty loose in our center core. And I'm regretting not doing any checking. We're going to immediately revert this back to vehicle assembly. We haven't launched, so it's completely okay to do this. And we're just going to strut this in. I want to make absolutely sure that we are solid here. We're going to strut that in with a... Okay, that's fine. We're going to go to quad coupling. There we go. And there we go. Or rather, just quad symmetry here. So that'll work. And let's take a quick look at the aerodynamics as long as we're in here. It's gonna be pretty stable while we've got these, and then it'll become... Actually, it's gonna be pretty maneuverable while we've got these, and then it'll become more stable later, in theory, as the center of mass moves up. Which I'm okay with. That should be fine. I think we'll be okay aerodynamically. Let's go ahead and run this without any sort of a simulation. I'm sure the tourists will be very happy to hear that we're putting them in untested hardware. And if we lose Gilly, Gilly's not a big deal. Okay, let's double check our staging here. That looks good. Yep, staging looks fine. And off we go. With the excess weight loss here, we should be... honestly, a little bit overpowered, but not tremendously. I mean, we're 1.45 right now for our thrust to weight. I think it's okay. We are currently moving at about 100 meters per second, and so let's begin yawing on over here. Hop into orbital mode. And we'll just slowly make our way over. Our apoapsis is coming up pretty quickly, and I'm okay with that. We're already up to 7-kilometer apoapsis. Looking good. I'm hoping that we're not going to see too much aerodynamic resistance here. But we'll see what that actually ends up looking like. Ooh, Getting a little bit aggressive on this turn, I feel like, but it's reasonably okay, actually. Just wondering what this is. Just a visual issue? Visual bug? It seems to move, or not really move. I think it's a visual bug with Scatterer or EVE, perhaps. Yeah, there it goes away. Fine. Okay, let's go ahead and make our way over to prograde at this point. That'll be just fine. There we are. We are in prograde. You can see here we're starting to see some atmospheric effects. Hopefully we'll push up through the atmosphere far enough. Actually, we are currently pushing up to 80 kilometers. So I'm actually going to save the last couple seconds of DV here. And we are going to go ahead and get ourselves a nice circularization here. Something along the lines of this-ish should be good. Let's go ahead and do that. We're still a little bit low right now, but that's okay. This is apparently a burn time of 3 minutes and 9 seconds, but I don't actually believe it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to here, to the maneuver node, and we're going to go ahead and get horizontal velocity with the remaining booster engine's fuel that we have. Oh, no, I don't want to be going back to prograde. Thank you very much. I want to hold right here. Okay, we'll ditch that, get a little distance, and cut it. Now we'll coast to space. So let's go ahead and physics warp until we're in space here, and we can get a better read on this. T-minus 55 seconds, we want 39 for our burn. Okay, sounds good to me. So we'll just position right around here, and we'll burn this at T-minus 39 seconds. And this should be plenty to get us into orbit without dipping into this stage at all. That's great. We want to burn now, and so we shall. Excellent. Our apoapsis height is, of course, coming up a little bit here, but we don't expect it to be too high by the end here. 100K? Oh, that actually doesn't quite put us in orbit. We're probably going to want to burn a little radial here then, aren't we? Okay, I'll just position right about here then. And we'll pull it slightly radial. I think that just indicates that I burned at a slightly awkward maneuver time. That's okay. We'll have no problem adjusting for that. It's not like we're short on DV on this thing. Excellent. You can see here that we're drifting further and further away from the maneuver node. That's fine. I expect this at this point. In fact, at this point, I probably want to go back pure prograde. Or maybe actually I want to move a little more towards the maneuver node. Something along the lines of this. I don't want to be exactly at it, otherwise we'll get rid of that radial burn and cancel that out. In fact, now I want to be pure prograde. Good enough. This is good enough. We could have burned a little bit more radial to even this out. There's no doubt about that. In fact, we could theoretically do that right now. I'm not sure this is the most efficient time to do it, and I'm also not sure it matters. We've only got 84 meters per second left in this tank, so I'm actually just going to burn the rest of it out radial and see what happens. Okay. We actually want anti-radial. That's fine. Let's go ahead and bring up the anti-radial burn. Good enough. Good enough. We'll go ahead and ditch this stage, of course. We're in orbit, and we're going to head for the moon. And to get there, we're going to burn probably sometime around here. Maybe a little later than this. No, that looks good. Yeah, this looks good. This is actually kind of an ideal flyby situation here. Like, I think this is a fine altitude. Maybe we aim for like 1 million. We're not aiming for in-moon low orbit. Right? Need to double check this. Yes, just orbit around the moon. So that's fine. We'll bring this up to 1 million. And bring that down a little bit because I overshot it. That's good. Perfect. Right there. Okay. We'll now position this guy with that kind of hilariously overpowered SAS. And there we go. And time now, of course, to warp to next maneuver. Wonderful. Let's check in on our electric charge situation. It's looking okay. That's great. We'll have to realign here in a moment. We want to burn this at T minus, let's see here, 30 seconds plus 19 seconds. So T minus 49 seconds. Okay. So we'll advance to then or so, and we'll burn this now. And off we go. Wonderful. We're slightly off node here. I'll just adjust that a bit. There we go. It doesn't really matter, of course. We'll hit this periapsis pretty easily. And we'll have so much Delta V. This is a perfectly fine tourism craft for Moon. It's probably a fine tourism craft for Minmus, too, in all honesty. Not so much for, shall we say, extra Kerbin activities. Going to, like, Eve or something like that? Yeah, there's not enough DV for that. But it's going pretty well, in all honesty. Considering our tech level, that we haven't upgraded our research facility, I'm pretty pleased with this so far. So this burn is going to have about another 43 seconds left. We're a little bit over halfway into this burn. Hello, Kerbin. You are very present. This is not a surprise at this juncture. But this is going to be a pretty simple return as well. We should be able to return very easily, including doing some fancy burns if we feel like it, but we don't necessarily have to. We could probably return this entire stage. We'll have the DV for that, so I'll just go ahead and move that on up. It's going to position here on the node a little bit better. You can see here, that's probably good enough. But I'm just going to chase this node a little bit. There. Good enough. So here we will go ahead and have them orbit. Like so. This should be fine for the orbit. And we'll go ahead and position for that burn. There we go. And we'll warp to that maneuver. This is going to be a 24-second burn, so naturally we want to burn at T minus 12 seconds. I don't know if I've explained that this playthrough. We want to burn at T minus 12 seconds because that is half of the burn time. So we want to burn half of the burn before the node point and half of the burn after for peak efficiency. We're just going to be retrograde here. We are now in orbit, or not in orbit, but we're flying by the moon. Kerbin is all the way over there. Excellent. We'll go ahead and warp towards T minus 12 seconds. So we'll want to begin this burn now. There we go. Retrograde burn, slowing us down to be captured by the moon. Fantastic. You can see here our moon escape is getting further and further away. Hello, that was a second moon encounter there. We'll pass on that one. Good enough. We're now in orbit over the moon. Our contract parameters are complete. And our tourists, they're very happy. Very happy indeed. They also paid us, so that's great. Of course, we're going to want to return, and the question is, do we want to burn at the periapsis or the apoapsis for the most efficient return? Generally, I believe it's the periapsis that we want to burn at. Or... hang on. Let's just do something like this. Yeah, at the apoapsis gives us an escape velocity. This is essentially a gravity assist. And then we are going to want to burn somewhere around where we are right now. I'm actually going to warp here, warp ahead a little bit. This is not very speedy. This is not very speedy at all. I'm going to cancel that warp, and we're going to warp to here instead. There we go. Good enough. Because I wanted to be able to work with having this be around where we are at the periapsis. Okay, so at the periapsis would be something like this, which is not what we're looking for. So we probably want to burn somewhere around here. I'm going to go ahead and warp to the apoapsis here. There we go. Something along the lines of, this is probably close enough. We'll go ahead and cancel that time warp. And let's see where we want this node to be. Here is probably reasonably fine. If we burn prograde here, you can see that brings us in very nicely. And we'll just have this be somewhere around 50 kilometers. That's a little low. There we go. And we'll just do a radial retrograde burn to lower our apoapsis while keeping our periapsis the same as we come in. That'll be just fine. Excellent. So we're going to want to warp to this next maneuver, of course. I canceled the auto warp instead of closing the map because, you know, I'm great at this game. This is only a 21-second burn to return. There's Kerbal there. We get a very nice view. And, of course, the moon currently there. We're not going to want to be burning retrograde. This is a pure prograde burn. So we're going to position for that, and we're going to burn this at T minus 10.5 seconds. So we'll go ahead and warp forward towards 10.5. And we will begin this burn now. Excellent. So this should return us nicely. You can see our orbit is already dropping. At least if you can see behind Flight Engineer. Now I'm just holding retrograde here. I'm not holding the node. And I'm just watching the actual height here. We'll just bring that down a little bit lower to about there. That'll do. Excellent. And now the question is, which side are we coming in on? 1 day, 0 hours. We're coming in this side. Fine, let's go ahead and escape the moon's influence then. We have no science to do here. It's just tourists that we're bringing. We will be bringing a science craft back here soon enough. We're definitely going to want to be retrograde here. Hello, radial node. We will be wanting you. We'll go ahead and set Kerbal as our focus, and somewhere, we've got a bit of an inclination going on, but that's fine. Somewhere right around here-ish is probably where we want to do our re-entry burn. And that will be a big ol' retrograde burn, but we want to keep our periapsis probably somewhere around... We could have this be like 30, 35k, I think, and that should be fine. Like, that should be more than fine. Pop that back out there. We've got enough DV to bring this down even further, but I'm going to keep that DV at this point. We'll just run this, and then we'll keep the remaining DV for a landing burn, if necessary. I mean, it's not strictly speaking necessary, but we'll keep it for that. So let's go ahead and warp to about here. This is going to be in 3.5 hours. Goodbye, moon. Hello, Kerbal. Wonderful. And we are, of course, in position over here. This is going to be a bit of a radial retrograde burn. We'll position for that. It's going to be 1 minute 9 seconds, so we want to burn this at T minus 34.5 seconds. We'll just go ahead and warp towards that. A little bit faster. Okay, there we go. That's good. And we will burn this right about now. Excellent. So this isn't exactly a re-entry burn. I mean, we're not re-entering quite yet, but the point is to bleed off a bunch of this orbital velocity for the re-entry while keeping our periapsis at a reasonable point. You can see here our periapsis is coming up. That will change over the course of this burn, but our apoapsis is coming down very, very quickly indeed. So that's great. And our re-entry is going to be over here. Where exactly is the KSC right now? KSC is on the other side. Okay, yeah, we're not going to be landing anywhere near the KSC, but I'm also not trying to control our landing position right now. That's an optimization we can make later if we need to. But pro tip, we don't need to. It is an optimization. You get more money for recovering things that are close to your launch site, but honestly, money won't be an issue for us for too much longer. Okay, our apoapsis is looking pretty good, as is our periapsis. I'm going to chase this node a little bit. We're only 0.4 meters per second off right now. We'll call that good. We'll go ahead and hit retrograde surface mode. By the way, we are already in the atmosphere, so that was really a re-entry burn. And we did bleed off a lot of speed, almost 1 kilometer per second. That will actually change things pretty dramatically in our favor. We do still have 10 seconds of burn left, so I actually timed that about perfectly. I like it. That was very good. So we're going to hold retrograde here, and we're going to physics warp until we get down a little bit more in terms of our atmospheric effects here. Catley and Nhat are so far pretty happy with our service. They don't know what that other reviewer was talking about, where he had to wait for a tow truck to show up. They think that that was a very, very strange story, and probably a little bit suspicious. Maybe that was a fake review or something. At any rate, we are now getting ourselves our re-entry heating. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the physics warp. I never like physics warping through this section of re-entry. I just think it's too risky. And we can see here our speed is beginning to decrease. Our periapsis height is now down to 15 kilometers, and our apoapsis height is just in space at 75 right now. So yeah, overall, this was a very nice re-entry profile, I think. Quite pleased with it. Periapsis height is almost at the terrain now. And it is entering the underground now. We have a predicted impact. That predicted impact is still a while away, but you can see here that impact time is actually decreasing pretty dramatically. So that's great. We're still at 41 kilometers up, so I'm not actually upset at our current velocity, which is high. It is, we're going pretty quick. We're at about orbital speeds. Not quite, but pretty close. But that speed is bleeding off. And this is definitely the period where I absolutely, under no circumstances, would want to be in physics warp. That would be a terrible idea right now. Landing impact time is apparently in 3 minutes. It's actually more than 3 minutes, but don't tell flight engineer that. We're going to be under 2 kilometers per second in just a moment here. There we go. Under 2 kilometers per second. That is absolutely wonderful. We're down to 32 kilometers above the surface, moving at 1.9 kilometers per second. We were going up briefly there. Oh, it's because of radar altitude. Yeah, I'm a moron. Radar altitude can do that. The difference, of course, between radar altitude and sea level altitude is this takes into account the terrain underneath us. Sea level altitude does not. Are we going to be coming in on land? Yes, looks like we are. Actually, maybe not. Is this land in here? It's a bit dark. Hard to tell. Currently, it's looking like grasslands. But that's okay. We're moving at 1.5 kilometers per second now, and our speed is coming down nicely. We're 24 kilometers above the surface. Wonderful. This is a pretty much perfect re-entry. I like it. We're going to start seeing these flamey bits go away. It's actually not flames, it's plasma. But there we go. As we decrease down below 1 kilometer per second, the danger is past. At this point, we're going to be able to deploy drogue chutes momentarily. And because we moved our drogue chutes, they should no longer pull us around awkwardly. There go our drogue chutes. I'm going to turn SAS off. It is no longer important. Our main is going to be deployable momentarily. We can see here we're going to be impacting on grasslands, which is always exciting because we might tip over. That said, this rocket should be short enough, or not really rocket, but this capsule plus stage should be short enough that we're not really concerned about tipping over. So let's go ahead and physics warp towards the ground. Go through the cloud layer here. Excellent. And there go our drogue chutes deploying. That's going to be our landing point there. Thanks, Kerbal Engineer. Our main has deployed as well. And we're moving at about 11 meters per second. We don't even need a landing burn here for it to survive, but we'll do it anyway. We've got the fuel. We are about 100 meters above the surface. And we're going to need to wait until we're about 50 meters above the surface before we do this burn. There we go. And that'll slow us down a little bit more. Beautiful. Our chutes didn't go away before we tipped. That was a good thing. And there we are, safely on the surface. We'll recover the vessel and get our sweet, sweet tourism bucks. Wonderful. We may get a little bit of science from that because we did orbit the moon. We'll see how much we get. 2.7, sure. Now, in terms of our science, we kind of don't have a lot in here that we really want, although heavy rocketry would be good. I'm actually going to grab that. Propulsion systems, I'm also going to grab for right now. And beyond that, that's about it. We do want heavier rocketry, advanced fuel systems, precision propulsion. All this stuff is stuff we will eventually want. But for now, this is fine. We completed our contract, got ourselves some sweet, sweet cash. There we go. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are likely going to look to probably bring the Moonstone back with us. Probably do a moon landing. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.